Hello, welcome back to Shit They Don't Tell You. I'm Nikki Limo.
And my name is Stephen Paul Green.
And today we are going to do a different episode than relationship advice or Am I the Asshole? Although we might tell you who an asshole is and we might give you relationship advice.
Very true.
But accidentally.
On mistake.
On mistakes. And that's on mistake. And that's on mistake.
And that's on mistake.
And that's on mistake. So yeah, I thought it would be cool because I was thinking about this the other day. I was scrolling through Twitter and I actually came across a video of Billie Eilish talking about how she used to be really cool with porn and stuff, like, you know, like, oh yeah, everyone should watch porn, blah blah blah, and then she kind of changed her mind about it.
Eilish is a singer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's a lot younger than us. Like, she's like a full like 10 12 years younger than us. She's like a young singer. Anyway, she changed her mind about it because of like porn addictions and stuff, and I realized so did I, like, because I used to on the show, and I just wanted to update because like we've been doing the show since 2018 for 6 years now.
Yep.
And there's maybe some stuff that I've expressed hard opinions on that I've changed my mind about.
You've been very opinionated on the show. Very opinionated.
I'm very opinionated. I try to be like very open-minded, but like I'll say things that I think I formed an opinion on on the show, because it's some shit that they don't tell you and then that we learned. And so like I feel like it's a duty to tell you, oh, hey, I learned this and maybe this will help you. But I realized like I never adjusted for things that I may have changed my mind on. Yeah. And that's actually one of them. So when I was watching that, I remember talking on the show a lot here and on JK and on Big Mood or wherever that like I'm totally chill with porn because like I watch porn. I've watched porn. I haven't really watched it lately, but I've watched it and I think it's healthy, whatever, like it's fine if that's what you're into. Like I found it to be kind of kink shaming to say that porn is bad or whatever. Also, I have friends that are porn stars, so they're not like close friends, but like I've had colleagues and friends that were porn stars, and so I would never like shame their line of,
do quite a few vids with porn
work.
stars.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
No
I've been
hate
to the
for them.
Porn Star Awards show.
Sex workers are cool. They're cool people.
Exactly. So I wouldn't want to shame that aspect. However, I think that just like alcohol, I didn't realize how crazy porn addictions were and how prevalent they were and how much they destroy people's lives. Yes. Because I have no problem watching in moderation. You know, I maybe watch porn at that time like once a month or, you know, whatever, like sometimes just like kind of gets you going or whatever. And if my partner watched porn, I'd be like, all right, whatever. Yeah. But it was always like in moderation. It's like not something that consumes them day and night. Yes. And I always thought people with porn addictions were like few and far between, like people with drug addictions. Maybe they're like, yeah, I know some, but like, you know, it's not that prevalent.
Who are they?
Or alcoholism, you know, alcoholism, like, okay, well, we shouldn't ban all alcohol because that's not fair. Like I drink moderately. Like I have maybe 1 or 2 drinks a week and like I don't get out of control. But just because I can do that doesn't mean that other people can't. And it's ruined people's lives. So now being in my late 30s, I've seen porn addictions really fuck up marriages. Yes. Like really fuck up people's relationships after, you know, because now, you know, back then it's like, well, people had only been together like a few years, maybe 5 years. But now we've known couples that have been together for a decade plus. And
now people are talking about it.
And people are talking about it. That
was before. I don't think anybody even really knew that it was a thing.
Or that like, you know.
Or even just like the old joke of like, close your computer, bro.
Right. Or you say, oh, porn addiction, like, oh yeah, well, I like porn too. And like, no, it's not the same. Yeah, okay. It's like, it gets to this point. Oh, so in the same video, I saw an interview with a guy talking about how much it ruined his life. Like about how he realized he had a problem when he couldn't see his female like colleagues or coworkers or anything the same as he used to. He started looking at all women as objects. And I didn't realize how much it fucks up people's mind, because that wasn't the first time I heard that from someone with a porn addiction, where like even casual conversations, you won't even know that person is thinking about you that way, but like they're like just objective.
Like ogling you.
Well, not even ogling, but they just don't see you as being a valid person.
Really?
Like you're not, like you're just kind of an object in the world. Like you're not the same caliber of like professional. Like you can't just be a professional. Like you're like an object to be manhandled. Okay. You know?
Got it.
Like that's your purpose on earth, basically. You know, and that's like the...
Like how dudes look at ultra hot chicks, basically.
Yeah, or like or cars.
Fair.
You know, just like you become objectified, that's your function in the world fair. Is to provide sexual pleasure for males.
Right.
And it was hard for him to stop seeing just regular everyday females like that. Right. And I've heard that before, and it's not just an addiction where they like want to jack off all the time or like watch porn all the time. It's also like they don't want to have sex with their wife.
Right.
Like they don't feel turned on by normal sex anymore.
Yeah.
It gets crazier and crazier.
It's called dead bedrooming or some shit like that.
I don't know, but it comes from porn addiction.
Yeah.
Exactly. The whole point of it is that like normal sex no longer seems satisfying, that it has to be crazy, that it has to be like you have to be watching like chicks getting like just completely railed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like not intimate sex anymore. Right. It's like you're no longer like making love or you're not turned on even by the thought of making love or like having sex with your partner. It's just and it's sad. It's really sad. And so then the wives or the partner feels like less than, feels like they can't turn their husband on, and you know, and I've seen just the way it tears people apart, and I've completely changed my mind on like porn.
Half of the, speaking of the Am I the Asshole stuff and like relationship stuff, like I'd say in the last like year, it's just picked up into like, we don't fuck anymore and my husband has a porn addiction. Yeah. It's like a lot of that.
Well, it's because it's become very normalized in culture.
Yeah.
OnlyFans has become a very available. You know, it's like the average now, like 1 out of like 5 girls has like an OnlyFans, something like that.
We know somebody who went behind his wife's back and dumped a significant amount of money on OnlyFans. Yeah. Without telling her.
Yeah.
And like they're not exactly financially crushing it either. So like he basically put his family in a real bind to talk to an OnlyFans chick who was like working them. Yeah. And by the way, no hate to her, all credit to her. That's her gig, right? Like her gig is like, hey, like I kind of think I am in love with you. And then these guys are like, oh shit, this is pretty sick.
Yeah, grass is greener probably if I wasn't with my wife. Yeah, I don't know. And so like I've seen that kind of happen, and that it's changed a lot. It was not like back in the 50s. It's like got to get a magazine or whatever. Like I think it's a lot different these days than just like having a Playboy magazine.
Exactly. And well, that was just like, man, that's what I grew up with.
And these chicks are so accessible too.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on top of that, there's this whole sex trafficking thing with porn, like on these like free porn sites. Like you don't know what.
Dude, that's
you don't know who's being trafficked and stuff.
Now, every time I go to a hotel in certain areas and I see those cards where it's like, if you're being sexually trafficked, like, please call this number or whatever. I'm like, dude, this is so pervasive. It's so much more pervasive than people think.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of like, I've turned.
When you say you're turned around on it, are you like, it shouldn't exist?
I don't think it should be banned, but I think there should be a lot more warning and education on it. Like just how they have to put warnings on alcohol and cigarettes, like things that are addicting, right? Like that they're legal, but like they can cause serious issues.
They kind of went nuts on the cigarette labeling, in my opinion. Now they'll show like a guy dead or whatever on the freaking packet. It's like, come on, dude. You ever see those cartons in the airport where they have all that everywhere? It's pretty wild.
Yeah, but it's only been internationally when I see it.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Like, so, I don't know. But no, I just think that's...
Yeah.
I think that's a good
I think it's a good thing too.
Yeah.
But not like excessive labeling.
But I just feel like we all went through a DARE program. We're all warned about drugs.
Yes,
we're all warned about drugs and alcohol. Like, but we're not warned about this porn addiction stuff.
Yeah. DARE worked on both of us really well.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, yeah. It did.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, it made me curious about every drug.
Oh, really?
No.
I thought it was you.
You know what worked on me really well is my fucking own paranoia of like my mom telling me that you could die in different ways. And then there used to be this forum on, and I don't know, I forget what it's called. It starts with an E. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a forum where everyone posts their worst drug trips. So you can look up any drug and then you see like people posting about like their terrible trips that they had and how it fucked them up for good. And basically one by one I went through every drug that I wanted to try. I wanted to try every drug. And then I went through one by one and I was like, okay, I won't try that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna try that one. And then I didn't want to try any of them after going through that whole site. That site was amazing. I wish I remembered the name of it.
I used to think cocaine was kind of cool because of how the 80s like really spiced up cocaine, and like Scarface is so sick, and like all these like dope ass movies have cocaine all over them. But then so like I would incorporate like cocaine into like certain things that I thought were funny and stuff. But then now with all the fentanyl like getting mixed in with shit, I'm like, I wouldn't even do it for fun. I always thought, I was like, oh dude, one day I'll make like fucking $5 million in crypto and I'll do cocaine.
Yeah.
That's like a how we did it shit.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I'm not doing that shit.
Right. You
Don't
never
win
know.
to die, dude.
You don't know.
Yeah, I'm not here to win to die.
Right, exactly.
But it was, I even have a buddy who like is, I would say, into the cocaine game. Like he he's even scared to do it now and like has to like test it and shit, and is in like he has to take it into like a place where he can test it for like PCP and shit. It's like, that's not worth it, dude.
No, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Right.
That's I think something I changed my mind on.
Drugs?
Is no, mushrooms particularly.
Okay.
Because I was like to get into the dare thing, like I was like, no fucking doing drugs, right? Like I was really into that shit.
But okay, so what about mushrooms made you not? Because I had to do a whole report on it, and mushrooms was the only thing that sounded like pretty dope, like not really any side effects.
You did your research, and I was just afraid.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like they fear mongered me.
Like you just thought all drugs were the same.
I would lump them all in and was like, that's all drugs. That's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like also, I would say Hollywood did a good job of that with mushrooms in particular, because like, it's like, hey, you want to do some mushrooms and shit? And like, it's always the same people who look like they do all the other drugs.
Like creepy people?
Yeah, creepy weirdos. And like, you have to get in an alley and shit. So it's like, oh, this is all very bad. But then, I think with the podcast community, mostly like Joe Rogan and everybody talking about like being on psilocybins and stuff like that. I'm like, I just am more aware now of what it actually is and not what I thought it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I'm more open to doing it now. Where like you and me have talked about doing it a couple times.
Yeah.
And like I'm more open to it now. Like me and Anthony Lee talk about like going to Interstellar and like watching mushrooms, and it's like
watching mushrooms.
Oh, I'm sorry, watching Interstellar and doing mushrooms.
Okay.
But like that sounds like way more interesting to me now than like say 2 years ago I would have said yeah right, kick rocks.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that scared me about mushrooms is that it opens your mind up. But I've heard like whatever happens in there, like your thoughts expand or whatever, your brain closes and then you think that way for afterwards, like you think that way forever.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And like for the most part, it's like been a good thing for people, like expanded their mind and then they have a different view on life after.
Yeah.
But like, what if it's not? What if it's not a good thing? That's true.
I mean, but that's part of it for me is like, I guess the curiosity of when I think about, because, I'm a big space guy. I love anything space related.
Yeah.
Like when I think about the cell, the pitch has been so good on like DMT, for example.
Yeah, DMT is a different one.
Where they say it's like you're shot out of a cannon into the universe. I'm like, that is like, sign me up every time.
Yeah.
Like that's like on the poster for me as something you could get me to sign up for. But then, I have heard the horror stories of like some people never came back from it the same, quit everything they were doing and like moved into the fucking forest or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You hear
like
about
something like that.
I'm like, damn, dude, I like my life. I don't want that.
It's like edibles. Like, so I had bad trips on weed and people were like, you should do edibles. And then I found out that like you can have a dormant schizophrenia gene.
Yeah.
And like people have like unlocked it on edibles and then they're just locked in a schizophrenic episode.
Right.
Like where they think like dragons are like flying around them and shit. Like it's wild. Like spent all their family's money, like just completely destroyed their life.
Insane.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I wanted to try DMT too. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
But DMT is one of the few, like acid is a hallucinogen, kind of similar, but it can stay in your body. Right?
And it can actually blow holes in your brain, apparently.
Okay, yeah. DMT is like, it won't do that.
Yeah.
Like it
goes away.
It's relatively new, but they haven't found a ton of like negative side effects to DMT.
And it lasts for like 10 minutes apparently, and then you're back.
Right, but it doesn't feel like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But I'm so into all that.
Yeah, I have a really good friend of mine is really into DMT, and she's done it quite a few times, and she always has just a really deeply spiritual experience with it.
Sick.
Yeah.
Is that who I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah, sick.
Probably.
Okay, good, dope. That's the person that I would do it with.
Yeah, I mean,
trust her.
She had offered to bring mushrooms while we were in the pandemic.
I remember that.
But I got scared. I chickened out.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I've done microdosing.
I know.
Mushrooms.
How do you like that?
It's all right.
What's it do?
I don't know. It's supposed to like chill you out, and maybe it did, but it also made me just like not active in like brain functioning.
Okay.
So I didn't really like that aspect. Like if I want to be chilled out, and like when we talk about people doing mushrooms, you talk like they seem to have life philosophy.
Yes. Cool vibes.
So yeah, something happens and like they think about life differently. I don't know. I just haven't thought about anything. I just kind of was, I guess this part's good. I was present and like felt senses more. Like the sky looked bluer. I was in the pool and the water felt like refreshing and like it was very hyper aware of the present
yeah.
senses.
Interesting.
Which is cool. But yeah, I'm a little intimidated because I watch a lot of near-death experience videos, and the DMT
near-death experience.
Yeah, near-death from people that died.
Yep.
Like clinically were like announced dead, and then they came back to life. A lot of their experience mirror what people say they experienced on DMT. So I thought that was really interesting.
I love all that.
I think that there's like spiritual aspects to it, and also scientific aspects to it that I find all very fascinating. But I also I'm intimidated. I like being in control.
Yeah.
At least alcohol is the only thing I've ever like participated in where I feel like I'm in control. At least like I just feel like a more fun version of myself.
Yeah, I would say generally you are.
Yeah, but I don't like, I know I can't like operate a vehicle and stuff, but I feel like I'm pretty in control. I know what's going on. I'm aware.
Yeah.
And with, DMT, mushrooms, like you're not in control for a good, like with mushrooms, it's like 5 hours, but like
whole new experience,
DMT, you're shot into a crazy part of the universe. So,
yeah,
I'm just not in control at all. And I don't know if that would like freak me out.
Yeah, I get it.
Leave like a traumatizing experience.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm with you on the porn thing. I just don't know what to do about it.
Oh, I don't think I can do anything about it.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just thinking like what can be done about it where it's like
I think that kids like that it should be a huge warning like in sex ed and stuff, like when they're starting to talk about that already.
Right.
Like I think that it's become such a huge part of culture now, just like drugs, just like alcohol and just like cigarettes, it's become a huge part of culture when they're like an adult, and like they're always going to be into what their older cousins are into and siblings, and what the adults are into. Kids just naturally are curious about it, and we got warned about the other things that are addicted. We did not get warned about porn.
That's true.
And I don't think that there was enough studies being done to show that it was an addictive thing.
There's something about sexuality that it just gets so weirdly shunned by our culture in general.
Yeah.
And like kept in the shadows and in the darkness,
where
and like
can't even talk about it.
Can't talk about it, and like that's very much how my family was growing up. So like I just feel like that is a breeding ground for like, okay, well, like you said, there's no rules on it then. Like it's just like you have to be quiet about it. That's the rule. Yeah,
so then you're not warned about it or educated about it. Yeah. And I just think that if it's just as addicting as drugs and cigarettes and alcohol, like if you have that part of, if you're that type that would get addicted to one of those things, then like it should be warned about, because it can actually really fuck up your life and also your development. If you get addicted to porn while you're in puberty, like it can really mess with your development with testosterone and all of that stuff.
Definitely.
And cause impotency issues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impotency? You can be impotent from porn?
Yeah, from like jacking off too much and like in too many wild ways, and like it's like you got oversensitized or whatever.
Whoa.
And so now it's hard to get turned on by like when you haven't even had sex yet, and now like it's your first time, you're about to have sex and you can't get it up because like you're just so used to getting stimulated by these wild scenes, and you've jacked off so much to
Watch Laura Croft getting fucked by monsters.
Sure.
Definitely.
That like a regular girl just won't do it for you.
Exactly.
And I think that's really sad, and I think that it's not fair that these kids aren't warned about it, at least.
Yeah.
Like we were warned about it. And I'm not saying like kids, I'm saying like when they start talking about sex ed.
Right.
Like not like little kids, but like, adolescents when they're going through puberty, when it's like
I'm all for that, man. I know there's a lot of weirdness about that, but like I'm all for that. Like teach kids about sex like 14, 15.
Like the warning parts, like we're warned about the diseases parts, and I think that's important. So you should also be warned about the addiction parts.
Also, like, that's the time when kids are doing that stuff anyway. So, like, it's better to teach them that you're not going to teach them that it exists. They already know. Mm-hmm. So you're just going to help guide them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll have much more about the things that we have changed our minds upon when we return.
Yeah. Hey, we're on a break right now, and I guess we're supposed to promo our show.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about our show.
We're going to talk about a show that you took a break from to talk about how you should listen to our show.
Technically, we're not on break. We're still working.
It's called Shit They Don't Tell You, and it's all the shit that we wish people would have told us that we had to mess up on and figure out ourselves. Now we're telling you about it.
That's it.
And sometimes we answer questions that you send in, and sometimes we judge other people's situations.
So keep listening, and check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/sticky. Thank you.
And shout out to Brian Jorgensen. And we're back. And also, if you check out our Patreon, patreon.com/sticky, STIKKI, it really helps out the show. It's like the biggest thing you can do to support besides sharing the show with your friends.
Absolutely.
But we got like a great Discord community there. Steve does Crypto Corner every week. We do a live stream once a month with a free roll poker tournament with cash prizes. So check it out.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you want. Also, you get the show a day early.
Yes.
So, things we have changed our mind about since we started this show. I used to be like really into hustle culture, I guess. This is what you could call it. Like, I really felt like if I wasn't being productive at all times, that like that's how life falls apart. Or like, you know, or like I was called lazy enough, which is really, there's like a paradox here because like I was called lazy a lot, even though I got like straight A's and like worked hard. But I realized now after getting diagnosed with ADHD that it was there's a causation. There's an executive dysfunction that happens, and where it's like you're telling yourself to get up, you're like, come on, get up, we gotta go, and you just can't physically do it. It's like there's like a brick wall. And I've gotten that all throughout childhood, where I'm just like trying to build myself up to get up, and then like if someone goes, come on, get up, it's like it starts all over again, and it's like the most frustrating thing. And I could never explain it before, but then getting diagnosed and like learning about all of these sites, I was like, that's what I get. And so I get that now. But I used to like really fight myself on it, and like I would beat myself up. I had a lot of depression because of feeling like I'm being lazy right now, and like you gotta, you know, power through this, and just not giving myself breaks, overworking myself, had a lot of panic attacks. But I felt like that was normal, and that was what was needed to be successful.
Yeah.
And I like preached a lot about, you know, when you are passionate about something and you just keep working on it every day. And I do believe that, but I also think that being in tune with your body, it caused me a lot of health issues. Okay. Not only like mental health issues, but I got SIBO, right? And one of the first things the naturopath asked me was not what my diet was. This was a gut health issue, but the first things was like what was on my workload, and to try to cut at least half of them out.
Yeah, because it's stress
which was
related.
Like crazy. Yeah, and then I learned how much stress plays an impact on your body and your physical health, and it actually creates diseases. And then like you're paying, you know, the medical industry for a quick solve, but it's not really like you could just have preventative things, right? You know, where it's just like being less stressed is actually the best thing you could do. It also creates more flow into your life. It helps you connect more to like the present and your purpose, rather than like just trying to check a bunch of things off a list.
Yes.
And the first year we moved to Vegas, I decided to have a gap year. I've talked about this before, where we were doing the podcast. I was doing Shit They Don't Tell You, and we were doing Big Mood. But Big Mood, we would stockpile. So we would shoot 8 episodes once every other month, and I would have all this extra time. And while I was still doing my vlog channel on YouTube, I just was burnt out of everything else, like Tasty Tuesday, like just everything else. I was like, I don't feel the same drive that I did in LA. I thought originally I was just going to continue those things, but then I just wanted to create a different type of content. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I decided to take a gap year while I still had income coming in to figure it out. And I mathed
it out. You knew you could do it.
And I had the most, like that year, I just told myself I was retired. And I told everything, because that's what it felt like. It felt like I was retired. Yeah. I was like getting money, but I was like not working every day. And and I would like go play poker because it was a new hobby that I was very like in the learning stages with. And I was studying poker every day. I was like studying a lot of like math and statistics and spots and equities and all this stuff. And I was really passionate about it. And I was just like trying to explore anything that like made a spark happen. I would just like, if it was fun. Yeah. Just like I would do, like if I was retired. If I was retired, this is exactly what I would be doing. And so I just had that mentality, like I was retired. And I had a lot of things came to me that year. Poker was definitely the direction that I was pushed towards, not just the game itself, but the industry.
Oh, yeah.
And I met a lot of really cool people, and everything just kind of fell naturally into place when I wasn't trying. Like I was studying and excited to learn something, and I was trying hard in the learning aspect, but not trying hard to make something accomplishments happen.
Yes.
And that flow was something I had never allowed myself to experience before because I was so scared of falling behind. And when I thought about like my backstory of being an adult, like moving to LA, taking a risk on myself with pursuing the entertainment industry and acting, and my parents like not really wanting me to do that. They wanted me to stay in college. It was kind of always this chip on my shoulder that I had to prove that I could make it work. And so I always had this like nagging voice that like, if you stop and you fall off or like you drop the ball and you slip into failure, like everything will have been for nothing.
Right.
And it was a huge pressure. And then, so this 1 year of like allowing myself to just see what happens was like eye-opening to me. That like, and then I've since read so many studies on like just allowing, like having that ebb and flow where like there's a relaxation period where you're gathering a bunch of ideas, and then there's a work hard period where you're like executing on those ideas.
It's like you're charging
and
up.
Yeah, and you have to have that ebb and flow. And if you don't allow yourself to have that balance, if it's just work, it just, then you kind of cut yourself off from that natural flow, and it's very stressful. And so that year just like opened my eyes up to a lot of like how kind of toxic and harmful the hustle culture was that I had agreed with. Like I always kind of felt irked when people would like disagree with it, when they'd be like, you know, when they'd be like, oh, like life's not about like working hard. I'm like, yeah, but you got to work hard. Like if you truly want success, you got to work hard at it. And I kind of changed my mind on that now. I kind of feel like your purpose, like you won't have to force yourself to work hard. You'll just want to.
Yeah.
And it won't feel like hard work. It'll feel like your genuine childlike curiosity for that subject.
I identify with that so much.
Right. And the book I'm reading right now is called Mastery, and I want to talk about it more after I finish it, but I'm only like 70 pages in. It's kind of a dense book, so like if you pick it up,
haven't mastered it yet.
But it's all about this, and it perfectly puts into words like everything that I've been feeling and trying to process this past couple of years, and how even my worries, like, okay, well, I'm niching myself down so much that like, will I be able to sustain
you're talking about being a poker content provider.
Being a content creator in the poker industry. I haven't meant to abandon my vlog channel, and to me, in my mind, it's not abandoned. I just stepped away a little bit, and I keep meaning to come back. But it's because I'm figuring out this completely different niche, and it's just something that's a necessary step along the way. But sometimes I get those thoughts, those intrusive thoughts, like, am I harming myself by going this pathway instead of just continuing what I was doing? But I think that when you have those intuitive urges to explore, like, you take them, because we're only in this life for such a short period of time. Like, those curiosities and those like natural inclinations to explore a topic or like go down a road and like you're focused, you're like engaged because you're interested. Like, don't pass that up for the logical reason of like, oh, well, what if I don't make money doing that? Like people, I think that stops people too much. It stopped me too much.
Well, parents even will tell them
and
that.
Parents, yeah. And I thought I was being pretty progressive by like not giving into the traditional route of like college and then getting your degree and then blah blah blah. Like, to me, following my intuition on like, I think I have to go for it over here was like, no, I don't like have those thoughts. But when I realized that like I was very scared to stop working nonstop, even when I didn't have those curiosities and passions or whatever, like I just forced myself through it because I was so scared of
dropping the ball.
And also like, well, if I let this part go, or like if I want to explore over here, then I don't have time to do the things that are creating income, and then like, what if I lose all my money and I don't make money doing this new thing? And it's like you're blocking yourself from being able to like learn the new thing
to expand.
Yeah, ultimately to expand. And what I've learned,
if anybody could say anything about you, it's that you've expanded. Well, you went in a completely different direction that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, and it wasn't a pre-planned thing. It was just like just one step of like being curious after another, and then everything kind of skyrocketed. You know, it was like rocket fuel. It wasn't even
for most
like,
people. It was like you were using a metal detector on the beach and you found gold. But I was there for the whole fucking process, and it was so much more. Like studying, like sitting there on your calculators and all this other shit, and like just learning the game.
Just hours and hours and hours.
It was
being
insane.
Totally
reading
into
every
it.
damn book and being so into it. Yeah, obsessively.
And, you know,
passionate.
I felt guilty only after that year had passed. Like I gave myself a year.
Yeah.
And then I realized after that year was over, I was feeling guilty for putting more time into it because I was like, no, you had your year. Now you have to go back to like the grind. Like you have to go. And, you know, I don't think that's right. I think that like when you are pulled towards like being intensely focused on something, maybe you don't know where it's going yet, but like it's usually leading you towards something that's going to be more fulfilling in your life than whatever you're trying to force right now.
Something that I changed my mind about that is exactly related to this is every time somebody would ever mention inner child to me for like the last decade, I would roll my eyes. But now since you've gone through all this stuff and like when you talk about how you connect this curiosity with your inner child, that just speaks to me so much better than the old ways or definitions did.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, that's why people say that.
Yes. Like the stuff you were into naturally as a child.
Yeah. Well, you're
because
just
you
like,
weren't trying to figure out what would make the most money. Like you weren't like bogged down by social pressures. You're just naturally into like collecting seashells or whatever.
Right. Or like, I want to go catch ladybugs in a net or whatever.
Yeah.
There's just fun stuff that like, let's check that out for a while.
You're curious about it.
That's it. And I think that was very corny to me, but now I completely connect that to, you know, real shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because you kind of just like go, ooh, that like this feels good. I'm onto this. Like I'm onto something. Like I like figuring stuff out. It also keeps your brain sharper and younger and all this stuff, and all of those things I didn't really know before. I just like was just following this intuitive urge to like explore, right, and to like learn more. And I love poker because it I think I talked about, I don't know, in this episode or the last episode, but I've always tested 50-50 for left and right brain. And it stimulates both sides of my brain because there's the human psychology aspect of reading people at the table. And I like live poker way more than online poker because of this. There's like a social aspect of reading people that's very like right brain. And then there's the like math aspect, the technical aspect that's very left brain. And I'm very, very stimulated with both sides, like when I'm playing. And I didn't realize that until I just liked the game, and I found out a strategy that was exciting to learn. And then the more I got into it, the more complex you find out it is, and like the more layers and the more you can learn. Like the more you learn, the more you realize there's way more to learn.
No, that's probably my favorite thing about your tournament win that everybody always brings up is looking back, like how little you knew about the game then compared to now. Yeah. But like at the time I was like, dude, she mastered poker. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even know.
I knew at the time that I didn't.
Well, no, but I'm just saying when other people look at you and they go, oh, she just crushed this thing, she must know everything about poker. Right. You have learned so much more about poker. It's like times 10 since then.
Yeah, and there's so much more I know I don't know. Like
exactly.
The more you learn, the more you're like, oh shit, I don't know a lot about this now, and I need to like learn that. And there is an element of constantly feeling behind because there's some people that have just been doing it for so many years. But in the book Mastery, it talks about, and this is also in the book The Alchemist, which I always felt connected to, but you follow this thing, and whatever your situation you're in, you like learn a lot about it, and there's like an apprenticeship type of phase to it. But then eventually, like, you actually combine like all the skills that you've picked up along the way, and it creates your own niche where like you don't have competition. You're not going into a field where it's like insanely competitive, because like while content creation is very saturated and poker is very saturated, like content creation inside of poker is not very saturated. No. And they're very new in the content creation department. Like I'd say they're like where the majority of YouTubers were in like 2012.
Yeah.
So like it's very new because a lot of them went from being a poker player to now wanting to explore content creation, and that's exciting for them, where I went the other way around.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that I didn't realize were valuable skills until, you know, exploring this new industry, and like I can help a lot for them and they can help a lot for me. And it was like, I was just talking to someone recently last week. I was in Kentucky opening this new club. Shout out to the Barrel Social Club in Kentucky. It's just outside of Nashville. I was there promoting their ladies event, and I was talking to one of the other content creators.
Women's event.
There, yeah, the women's event. My bad.
Thank you.
And the guy, it was like, it's always nice to learn how other people perceive you, because I like never know. I have imposter syndrome. It's crazy.
Yep.
But you know what he said about me, and I've only talked to this guy a handful of times, maybe like 3 times in the past 3 years. And he was like, you know what's interesting about you, I've watched your arc. Like I've kind of publicly been like going through this arc in poker. He's like, you just came in at such the right time where like you might have needed poker, but also like we needed you. Like it was like such a good fit. Like we needed someone like you, and you loved the game, and like it's just such a good. And I was like, thank you, because that's how I feel. But I don't know that that's how everyone sees it. And that's to hear that feedback from someone who I barely know, who has just watched it, was just like really, really cool to hear.
I can tell you from outside looking in, and every time we go to anything poker related, people always like give me compliments about you.
Aww.
But the biggest thing is that you have joy for the game that had gone missing in the community. I'm not saying nobody had joy for the game. Shut up. Yeah. I'm saying like it was very pervasive that everyone was miserable in playing poker, and like you brought a joy to the game that I think people were missing, and they're like, oh, that's what I was missing.
Right.
And I think that's the thing I hear the most about you.
My like best feedback that I get almost every time I go play live, like, and it never doesn't make me feel good, is almost every time people at the table will be like, this is the most fun game I've ever played. This is the most fun session that I've ever played. I've been playing poker for like 15 years. This is the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah, at the table.
That is at the table.
Table vibes are good.
At the table. And that has happened to me so many times that like I can only, just be like, maybe
credit to me.
Maybe I brought something.
Credit to me.
Maybe I do like try to, I don't try to make the table fun. It naturally becomes fun for me because I'm having fun. Yeah. And also I like finding out about people. Yeah. I talk to people all the time at the table. A lot of tables don't talk. And some people find it annoying, but they're like, I don't usually talk at the table. But most of my feedback is like, I normally don't like talking at the table, but this is so fun.
Yeah, well, it's funny too, because here's the duality of man for you. Like you do this introvert shit like nobody else I've ever seen, but then if you add games to it, you become this whole other person. And now that person that I've always known all these years is like everyone can see it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like doing crowd work, like, but at the poker table where they don't even know that they're about to get messed with. Yeah. And it's like fun, and it'll be fun for them too. It won't I like to make people feel more comfortable, not less comfortable. So like I kind of like learn their vibe, and then just like kind of ask them questions, and then I'll do callbacks, and like things will like it kind of just, they're not expecting it. Yeah. And it's just been a really like fun time to explore this completely different path that I never would have guessed would happen.
I wouldn't either.
And it doesn't.
Except I did guess it earlier than you.
That's true.
Thank you.
And although there's a lot of work to do, and I do feel like I put a lot on my plate since going this way, it's all like really fun and interesting and curious. And so I try to remember every time I feel myself being like, you got to like get up and do all these things.
Your
and like
dad's voice in your head?
Yeah, exactly. I try to remember how much easier everything flowed when I just let it.
Love it.
And that's something I've really changed my mind on, where that laziness comment like really got to me as a kid, because I don't feel lazy. I feel like I sometimes just can't do it.
You feel misunderstood, and Dad.
I beat up myself, and then I have low self-esteem because of it, and I feel like a piece of shit. And that's counterproductive to when I do have motivation to work, because I'm like, now I feel guilty for wasting all that time where I could have been working. But when you just don't see it like that, like if you just take away all that conditioning of like being conditioned to perceive time that way, and you just like let things flow, it happens so much better. And it's still a work in progress for me to untrain my brain after, you know, decades of feeling like this was the only way, is like discipline and hard work. And I am a very disciplined person.
Yes.
But to like let that go a little bit and like see what happens and like find the playfulness aspect, which is like why I got into any industry in the first place. It's why I got into acting. It's why I got into stand-up. It's why I got into poker, is that playfulness aspect. Like to like let that breathe. Yep. You know, to when you change everything into a job, you lose that playfulness, and it starts getting depressing, which is why I think people were depressed in the game, and why content creators get burnt out and depressed, because you become a slave to numbers. Yeah. You become a slave to your latest win, to your latest
always
booking.
About the numbies, yep.
You know, and when it's just a hobby and something new that you're learning, it's fun. And so to try to like kind of continue feeling that way with mindset has been a huge shift from before. I think a lot of our episodes were about how to be most productive and like,
yeah, true.
You know, like there's a lot of like organization hacks and stuff like that. But that was before I got diagnosed with ADHD. And like, I felt like I had to create these systems in order to survive in, you know, our society, the way that it's built, the way that it's structured for you to succeed. Yeah, I changed my mind about that a lot.
Something else I changed my mind about since we started the podcast, 2019, 2018. I'm more of a boob guy now, I think.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, you just informed me. You just gave me some positive news. So.
I went up a cup size.
So it's been.
But I gained 8 pounds.
Everything's coming up green right now, brother.
But I'd never had that where I gained weight and it went to my boobs. Usually it comes out of my boobs. Like I lose weight and it comes out of my boobs, and then I gain weight, it goes to my stomach. But like, I went up a cup size this past.
Went to them boobs.
I gained 8 pounds and it went to my boobs. But
and I'm a boob guy.
Don't make everyone look at my boobs.
Oh, sorry.
I changed my mind about kids.
Oh, true. We did big time change our mind about kids.
Not that like if we had a kid I wouldn't like if we had a kid I would love it.
Yeah.
But
wouldn't complain.
But I used to like really be locked into that timeline thing of like, well, gotta have them before, you know, 30 something, because like otherwise we're old with kids
or whatever.
Yeah, now I'm like, I've just really acknowledged, I mean, we've talked about it on the show before. This is why I didn't know if I should include this one, because we have talked about this in recent years.
But it's okay.
But yeah, like in the beginning, I was just very like, yeah, of course we're going to have kids. You know, we're just family people. But I thought that maybe I wouldn't feel completely fulfilled in life if we didn't or couldn't. And now I'm like, nah, I think I'd be fulfilled no matter what.
Yeah.
A kid would be a blessing. Sure.
Defo.
But also it's a lot of work, and like, you know,
it's the most work ever.
I'm having a good time right now. I'm having a fulfilling time right now. It's kind of like when you're single and like you could be single and sad and wish you had a partner, or like I feel the healthiest thing is like when I was single and like actually loved being with myself. Like I liked being alone. I like really embraced it and was like, I could do this forever. Yeah. You know, I'm very fulfilled right now. So meeting someone would just have to enhance that.
Right.
And so that's how I feel about kids, is like, I feel really fulfilled right now. And if we had a kid, it would like...
It would enhance it.
You know, possibly enhance it.
Yeah. As long as, you know, she's not coming up to us showing us her poop, which happened yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, neighbor's kid showed us her poop.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
heard that happens.
Pretty intense.
I've done that to my babysitter when I was a kid.
I don't recommend doing that.
Yeah. We'll try to not have a kid that does that.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I just, I don't know. It's kind of like, I am not attached to the outcome.
Yes.
I mean, and that's what all of this has been about, really, is just not being attached to the outcome. Before, with like productivity and stuff, it was very like, if I don't have this result, then I failed.
That's really good.
And now it's just like, well, let's see where this goes. Like, it's going somewhere. The exploration is the fun part.
Exactly.
Not the like outcome.
Listen to that again and again, folks. The exploration is the fun part. That's exactly it.
Again, and write it down.
Write it down. Put it on the wall.
Write it. Put it on your mirror.
That's it. All right. Well, hey, thank you for opening up about that.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like,
that helps everybody.
I was just thinking about stuff that we changed our mind about the past couple of years, and maybe we should do a little update.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think that's what it's all about too. Like, you learn, the more you learn, the more you like change your mind about stuff. And I think that's healthy to be able to change your mind about stuff.
Yes, to be malleable.
When you think you know everything, or when you think you know something, you close your mind off of learning new things, and that's terrible.
Dude, that's like all my 20s, man. I thought I had everything figured out. It's like you just think you know everything about every topic or whatever the fuck, and it's just the more you, but like you said, the more you learn, the more you realize what you don't know.
Yeah, and by like thinking you know things, like you just cuts yourself off from the joy of like learning or exploring,
or even coming close to mastery, right? Like coming close to it. You're never going to get there, but coming closer to it, inching closer to mastery,
right?
Is directly involved in countering your own thoughts.
Yeah, because if you think you know everything, you've formed hard opinions, then you're not able to listen to like possibly improve yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, do you have anything else that you want to add?
That's it for me.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. And I hope this helps someone out there, like just to kind of, play around with life. Like life doesn't have to be so rigid and defined already. Like and if anything, the pandemic showed us that like anything could be taken away or just changed up at any time. Like it's not so structured that it can't be shaken up. And so like, if that's the case, then we never know. We never are completely sure about anything. And that's kind of the beauty about it.
Amen.
So might as well play. Like, might as well play around. Might as well think about what you really liked as a kid and like kind of explore it a little bit.
Go play.
Go play. I want to go play.
Nikki wants to go play tonight.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks, and check out the Patreon, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.